Alright. Hello, everybody. These are the clouds that I get to see on my drive out to the Hamptons. And this is the show that I listen to that I think everybody needs to hear.
William, where do we get your book 1 second after?
Well, just not anywhere.
I almost said where 52 times now. I got so excited about your book.
Any of the online, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, any major bookstore, they all carry them.
How's it selling? And how's it been selling?
About 500,000 copies now.
Good for you!
It's been rather...
That's huge!
Yes, it's all been rather amazing.
Good for you. Good for you.
Thank you, sir.
Let's go back to the phones west of the Rock.
Alright, just a preference. This is an awesome show called Coast to Coast, and this guy has been on for the past hour or so talking about what I've been talking about for years, EMPs, either from the sun or from man, as the LA missile shot that they said was a plane that then ended up locking a cruise ship down that had to be towed back to shore. I don't know if everybody remembers that, but that is what happened. Remember, a couple days, a week later, you heard about the cruise ship that was stuck and they were eating sandwiches and crying about it. Yeah, that's because it was out there when that missile got shot off the coast of Southern California there. But in any case, this is a very good interview, and I hope you enjoy. Alright, back to the Coast to Coast show.
He's in Carson City, Nevada. Hey, Tim, welcome to the show. Go ahead.
Hey, gentlemen, boy, what a thrill. Hey, the reason I was calling is I've always poo-pooed the idea about the Iranians or North Koreans having capability of delivering some type of EMP device because of the distance involved. But I recently saw a National Geographic show where they talked about the USS Texas submarine and how it's vulnerable to, all our subfleet actually, vulnerable to rocket-propelled torpedoes that travel faster than the speed of sound underwater, so they can't hear it. But it also is a consequence that they can be fired from offshore at great distances and be guided, and consequently couldn't easily be shot, as they come into shore, back up into the atmosphere and detonated. So I was wondering if, Bill, what your thoughts might be on that.
There's any number of delivery systems out there. There's a lot of stuff that's classified that we'll never hear about, either on our side or their side. The one thing that I've been hearing about the last year or so that has really been disturbing is throughout the history of warfare, it's always been a question of defense, offense. Good quick example, start of the war, tanks had 37mm guns, might have an inch or two of armor. By the end of World War II, tanks were carrying 120mm guns and 88mm guns with 6 to 8 inches of armor. I've been hearing folks talking about gamma ray enhanced nuclear weapons that could create a far higher laydown, up into the tens of thousands of volts per square meter. Impossible to defend against.
That's huge.
Yeah, and everything we use
when 30, 40 years ago, we were talking about hundreds of volts per square meter laydown, or maybe 1,000 or 2,000. And in declassified discussions now, they're talking, could there very well be enhanced gamma ray in which we're now into the 10,000 volts per square meter?
Is there any way that we can do a test with members of Congress there viewing a very little EMP in the atmosphere, or would that be too deadly? Would that be stupid? Would something go awry?
It'd be rather tricky because detonating 250 miles up, let's say off Johnston Island in the Pacific, you're still hitting Hawaii with that. I've always had a fantasy. This might sound a little bit strange. I think about every 10 years we should take all the world's leaders, go to some remote island somewhere out in the middle of nowhere and detonate a thermonuclear weapon. And let the world see what the hell will happen to us if we ever go to that type of warfare. Recall, the last time a nuclear weapon has been used for the purpose of warfare, it's been almost 70 years now.
All you got to do is look at pictures of that, and that was with that kind of technology.
So what will we be facing today? We are woefully sticking our heads in the sand when it comes to the possibilities of EMP or even just a nuclear weapons detonation.
Well, let's go to Taylorville, Illinois, east of the Rockies. Hi, Ray. Go ahead.
Hi, George. Hi, William.
Good to have you with us.
I had a question about the effect of EMP on our nuclear reactors in the country.
Ooh.
Yeah, now the reactors go down, and we notice with Fukushima, when it has no power, guess what? The whole world starts to eat a whole lot of radiation. So this is serious, people. We're talking about things that are either going to happen naturally, according to NASA, during our lifetime, or unnaturally because some numbnuts gets his hands on one of the 3,000 that we know of nuclear weapons out there and detonates this at some point, knocking out the system. So this is a very serious issue, people, and we can do things about it. We live in an era where we could actually go to the store and purchase some things that we're going to need, but we'll get to all that later. I'll let you get back to the interview now.
Did you ever look at that, William?
The problem there is, as the grid blows out, our nuclear reactors are supposedly capable. They're hardened. What they do is they scram. They do an emergency shutdown. The problem is, how do you start them back up again? You need to pump a tremendous amount of energy into a nuclear reactor for a week or more to finally bring yourself back up to a generating capacity.
So without power, they start melting down, don't they?
There is a tough question that a lot of people scratch their heads over as to what exactly would happen. Would scramming work? Will the systems automatically shut down safely? Or could we be looking at a situation with some nuclear reactors that could potentially go out of control?
That is a scary scenario, my friend.
It's a very scary scenario.
Thanks for that question. Let's go, Philip, to Franklin, Indiana. They're all getting ready for the Super Bowl this weekend. Go ahead, Philip.
That averages 2 per
Hello,
state.
thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I have actually a two-part question. I was wondering about naturally occurring EMPs, like, say, when the planets align, maybe there'll be a big solar flare and EMPs will come out of the sun. Is it possible that it could affect the Earth?
A sun X flare directly toward the planet would affect. The big question is, William, do we know how big that X flare needs to be in order to take out the grid? I don't know if anybody really knows that.
Well, it's like a pinball game almost. If you picture the sun as an orange and the earth as a marble.
All right, get this. This is a very good analogy for what we're up against. The sun is an orange. The earth is a marble. It's actually a bigger difference than that. And we're 100 yards apart. The sun is constantly shooting things off of it that completely can stop everything that works, that we know to love, called electricity. So it's a matter of time. Here it comes. Ready?
Orbiting 100 yards away. You know what I mean with that. It's happening all the time. All the time. There are solar flares, CMEs, X flares firing off from the sun. What's the probability it's going to hit that little marble? Us, 100 yards out. Sooner or later, it will hit. We've had several near brushes. One of them, and we talked about the start of this program, only last week. A little bit more intensity, a little bit more of a direct hit, and you and I would not be sharing this conversation this evening.
Do you get that, people? Last week, the CME that we got hit with, a little bit more powerful, which they've been, and a little bit more accurate, which they've also been, but luckily the two have never been done together. Well, since 1859, or the 1920s. But in any case, just happened last week. A little more powerful, a little more direct hit, and instead of just a couple of communication problems here and there, or China a couple of months ago, everything is done. And the bigger it is, the more the planet gets hit with it, and the more people that have to scramble to try to find a way to feed their families and live.
the grid would be down.
What happens to my radio show?
Sooner or later, it will hit. We've had several near brushes. One of them, and we talked about the start of this program, only last week. A little bit more intensity, a little bit more of a direct hit, and you and I would not be sharing this conversation this evening. The grid would be down.
What happens to my radio show? There goes my satellite transmission. Everything goes.
Well, I hope you got a really good 401k that you've already withdrawn your funds out of, because
What good is money going to be?
They're digits.
oh gosh, yeah, that's such a great
That
question.
they control.
What percentage of our money is actual, real money versus electronic?
Well, then who's going to accept it? Who cares? Commodities will be worth more than the money.
Precisely.
You know, stores won't even want to sell stuff. They'll take it home themselves.
Food, supplies.
Precisely. Our whole economic
aid,
grid, the percentage of our
water.
money that's electronic transfer is
Things
almost
you
all
need
of
to
it now.
exist.
What happens to all our magnetic stripped cards?
Well, the swipe machines that you got to run
They'll be gone anyway.
They're gone anyhow.
Yeah, doesn't matter. It's hard to imagine how much we rely on electrical power.
Isn't it?
Everything.
Absolutely, yes. From that 90% figure of 90% fatalities, people go, Bill, that sounds absolutely